Sagittarius, your plan was solid. But the universe has a greater one. My dear, maybe you've spent many years carefully planning your life. Every step thoughtfully considered, every decision rooted in logic, experience, and a quiet trust that, if you just do it right, things will work out. And that's true, you are Sagittarius. A strong soul, full of ideals and an unending thirst for something more. You believe in the journey, and in the meaning behind every stumble. You've built a clear path, a roadmap you believed would take you to your destination. But then, strangely, just when you think you've got it all figured out, the universe begins to whisper something different. A strange sensation, as if someone were quietly shifting the wind's direction. Soft, but enough to make you feel that something is changing. This video is for you, if you are a Sagittarius who once tried to control everything. Because what I'm about to say might confuse you, or it might be exactly what you need right now. The universe is preparing a turning point. Not just a slight detour, but an entirely new path where your soul is meant to awaken. Something beyond your line of sight. Not meant to break you, but to complete you. Not to mislead you, but to redirect you toward the truth of your soul, not the tired construct of your ego. And if you're courageous enough to listen, this may forever change how you see every failure, every delay, every wound. Leave a comment. I am ready to embrace the universe's greater plan. Because sometimes, just one sentence is enough to unlock something miraculous. If this message speaks to you, like the video, and share it with someone who might need a flicker of light. Because sometimes, a single voice can become a message from heaven. And maybe, today, this very moment, is the one where the universe is calling your name. There's something only those who've experienced it deeply will understand. Sometimes, the best things in life don't come from what we chase, but from what arrives the moment we let go. Sagittarius is the sign of the journey, not only outward travels, but the inward voyage toward self. You are someone who longs for expansion, who trusts in something higher, and carries within a deep knowing that you were born to do something meaningful. And because of that, you tend to create very clear plans for your life, not to waste time, not to get lost, not to fail. You believe that if you follow the right path, the universe will take care of the rest. And for a long time, it seemed to work. Your plan ran smoothly. But then, a moment, small perhaps, made you begin to feel that something no longer fits. Maybe a job you once loved now feels empty. A relationship that once uplifted you now holds you back from yourself. A dream that once lit up your eyes now feels like just another task to complete. And you begin to ask, am I on the wrong path? Or is this just a rough patch? The answer doesn't come from the outside. It comes from the moments you go silent. From restless dreams. From a nameless longing. From the sense that you're being called back, but you don't know where to. And that is exactly when the universe begins to shift. I once had a very clear plan for my life. I believed that if I tried hard enough, stayed kind, stayed consistent, everything would go the right way. Then one day, something hit like a storm. No warning. No logical reason. It erased everything I believed was stable. And I resisted. I used all my strength to hold on to the old. But eventually, I realized, what I was trying to hold onto was no longer my dream. It was just the image of an older version of me, a version whose role in my journey had ended. And only when I let go, when I dared not to know what comes next, that's when the miracle began. I was no longer the person I used to be. But I had never felt more real. Sagittarius, maybe you are in that very moment now. One part of you wants to cling to what once felt safe. But a deeper part is whispering, it's time. It's time to step into a new journey. One where you don't need all the answers. Because the answers will come when you dare to walk forward, even without a clear path. That's why this video found you, not to show you the way, but to affirm that a greater plan is waiting for you. And it's not coming to take something away. It's coming to return you to the most essential truth of who you are. Are you ready? If any of this resonates with your heart, leave a comment. I am ready for a new journey. Because sometimes, just admitting it sets the entire universe in motion. And if you thought you'd lost your way, maybe you are being guided back to the center of yourself, the place you were always meant to be. In the next part, I'll share with you the earliest signs of a destined event, those subtle yet powerful signals the universe sends your way. They're not loud, not obvious. But if you listen with your heart, you'll realize the greater shift began long ago. The most life-changing transitions rarely begin with thunder. They begin with a vague sensation. As if something is quietly drifting into your life, no shape, no name, but leaving behind a feeling that lingers. Sagittarius, you have a very special gift. Your intuition carries a philosophical tone. You don't just feel change, you question what it means. And in the coming months, the universe is whispering to you in that exact language, the language of quiet but persistent signs. Maybe you start to feel that a job you once took pride in has become meaningless. Or that a person you trusted has gone silent. Maybe you dream of a distant place, or suddenly feel the urge to let go of something you once tried so hard to hold on to. At first glance, these may seem like emotional turbulence. But in truth, they are the wind chimes of the universe. They're not here to disrupt. They're here to make you pause. And to listen. I used to ignore signs like that. I thought they were just temporary fatigue, fleeting emotions from a difficult phase. I kept pushing myself forward, following the plan. But the more I tried to go on, the more lost I became. Until one day, I read a very simple sentence. Whose life are you living? And I froze. Because I knew, most of what I was doing was no longer my own dream. It was someone else's expectation. It was fear of failure. It was habit wrapped in the disguise of stability. And I told myself, if this life is the only gift I've been given, then I can't keep living it as if it were an obligation. Since then, I started paying attention to the smallest signs. A gut feeling. A chance conversation. A strange dream. And I realized, the universe is always speaking to me. I had just been too busy to hear it. For Sagittarius, a new journey doesn't begin with a map. It begins with honesty. Honesty with yourself. That there are things you used to want, but not anymore. That there are people you thought would stay forever, but were only meant to walk with you for a while. That not every promise you made to yourself has to be fulfilled, because you're growing. And a soul that grows always needs new space to expand. The lesson here is not to give up, but to adjust. To adjust the direction so that you don't betray yourself. So you don't keep something just because you've invested too much time into it. Because the only thing you truly owe loyalty to is the light within you. And that light is beginning to stir, reminding you that you weren't born to live the right life. You were born to live the true one. If you feel that something in your life is quietly changing, leave a comment. I am listening to the signs of the universe. Because when you write that down, you are sending out a signal that you are ready to be guided. And if you're still unsure, not knowing where to go, or what to let go of, don't rush. In the next part, I will tell you something important. That sometimes, collapse is not a loss. It's sacred preparation. What is falling away from your life right now isn't leaving you. It's making space for something worthy to enter. There are times in life when everything seems to collapse at once. What you once thought was solid foundation suddenly cracks. A job you thought would stay for years no longer fits. A person you once called soulmate slowly drifts away without explanation. A dream you once held tightly now leaves you feeling empty whenever you think of it. At moments like that, you may ask yourself, why is everything falling apart when I've tried so hard? But sometimes, when everything breaks down, it's when the divine starts to rearrange the pieces. Not to punish you, but to shape you into the version of yourself you once prayed to become in your weakest moments. I've been through that. A complete breakdown. Not just external loss, but inner confusion. I no longer recognized myself. I had done everything right, or at least I thought I had. I lived kindly, worked hard, never hurt anyone. And yet, I couldn't escape being misunderstood, being hurt, being abandoned. And yes, I blamed life. I blamed the universe. I blamed myself. But then one morning, I woke up with nothing left to lose. And in that emptiness, something strange appeared: peace. Peace didn't come from everything getting better. It came from no longer trying to control it all. I started observing everything with new eyes. As if I were a guest in my own life, watching myself being reborn. Little by little, I realized that before stepping into a new chapter, life will always test whether you're ready to release the old pages. And if you're not ready, it will keep testing you, letting you cling to what has expired until you're too tired to hold on. Sagittarius, you don't need to know what comes next. You only need to be honest about where you are now. If it no longer makes you feel alive, have the courage to look at it. Not to reject it, but to admit, you are changing. And the beauty is, when you dare to look at your confusion without rushing to fix it, a new path will begin to appear. Not in dramatic ways, but gently, like the soft morning after rain, when you notice the first ray of light slipping through the leaves. No announcement. But you'll believe. For me, the greatest lessons didn't come from what I achieved, but from what I lost and still survived. And lived better. I learned that not everyone who leaves is a loss. Not every unfinished dream is a failure. Sometimes, they're just detours, bringing you back to yourself with a heart that is wiser, softer, and stronger. And when you become that person, even if you are still you are you at a deeper level. A level you once feared to touch. If you've ever gone through a breakdown, leave a quiet note. I have been broken, but I am being reborn. Because perhaps that sentence isn't just a confirmation for yourself, it could be a guiding light for someone walking through darkness. And if you're right in the middle of that haze, not seeing the light yet, not seeing the way out, stay with me. Because in the next part, I'll bring you to the most magical moment. When you no longer have to hold it together, when you allow yourself to let go. That's when the universe places in your hands something you never even dared to wish for. And you'll understand why everything that ever happened had its reason. There is a very special moment in every soul's journey. The moment you no longer feel the need to control. Not because you gave up, but because you've grown enough to understand, some things are meant to be left alone. Some questions don't need answers right away. Some doors will open, not because you knocked hard, but because you stood still long enough for them to recognize you are worthy to enter. I used to live in a constant state of waiting. Waiting for things to make sense. Waiting for clear signs. Waiting for someone to return. Waiting for a door to open. And the more I waited, the more exhausted I became. It wasn't until much later that I realized, not everything needs to be resolved right away. Some things just need to be accepted as they are. Only when I stopped trying to understand everything, did I begin to feel what was truly happening. For Sagittarius, the hardest part isn't change. It's stopping. It's accepting that sometimes, not acting is also a form of strength. And sometimes, the most miraculous things don't come from effort, but from deep stillness within. That moment when you sit quietly, not running, not searching. A very subtle transformation begins. No one sees it. There are no fireworks. But it touches every cell of your soul. I remember once, I fell into such a deep silence that I felt disconnected from the world. No longer inspired to do what I once loved. No longer motivated to continue the unfinished plans. I was afraid. I thought I was falling apart. But then, on a very quiet afternoon, when sunlight streamed through the window and lit the old wooden floor, I felt something indescribable. As if a very ancient part of me was exhaling for the first time after a long sleep. And I understood. I wasn't losing myself. I was returning to myself. And from that moment on, everything began to shift. Not because I created a new plan, but because I changed the way I showed up. I was no longer in a hurry to go anywhere. I no longer needed to prove anything. I just needed to live truthfully. And when I stopped pretending to be okay, the universe began to draw near. With gifts I hadn't been quiet enough to receive before. With people, with signs, I could never have created through any logical effort. It is in the stillness that the sacred begins to speak. It is only when you stop bracing yourself that the universe finally has room to place a gift in your hands. For you, Sagittarius, maybe this is that very phase. A pause. An unexpected quiet. A strange state you've never experienced before. But trust me, you are not falling behind. You are being renewed. From the inside out. And what's coming won't arrive as a loud breakthrough. It will arrive like an answer you no longer needed to ask. But when it comes, you will know, so this was the reason for it all. If you're in a phase where everything seems to be slowing down, whisper this affirmation. I am being prepared for something greater. Because just by admitting that, you align yourself with a higher frequency, where everything unfolds at its perfect time. And my dear, if this speaks to you, share this video with someone you know. Someone who may need to hear this. Because sometimes, just one sentence, just one voice, can awaken a soul that's been lost. In the next part, I'll take you to the clearest turning point. The moment where you no longer doubt, no longer hesitate. The moment you realize, I'm ready. And from then on, you won't need to wait for a miracle. Because you are the miracle. There is a moment in the awakening journey you'll never forget. Not because it's spectacular, but because it's profoundly quiet. A peace that doesn't come from everything being perfect, but from the full acceptance that you don't need to know everything in advance. You only need to know one thing. You're never going back to who you were. I remember that feeling clearly. One early morning, I stood in front of the mirror. And for the first time in years, I saw my own eyes soften. No more tension. No more questioning. Just a very honest gaze. As if I were meeting myself again after a long journey away. No one told me I had changed. Nothing around me had changed. But inside, something had shifted. Gently. But forever. For Sagittarius, that is the moment you take the leap of faith. No one pushed you. No door slammed shut behind you. You simply no longer wanted to delay. There was no longer a reason strong enough to keep you in a chapter that has already closed. You rise. Not in urgency, but in reverence. Reverence for your life. And for the quiet calling that is guiding you further, deeper, truer. This is not the season to prove anything to the world. This is the time to make peace with yourself. To forgive the mistakes you once clung to. To gently thank every path you've walked, even the thorny ones. And then, to choose to move forward. Not because you feel fully ready, but because you trust that each step will reveal the next. The lesson I want to share here is simple. Don't wait until you're sure to begin. Certainty is an illusion. The only thing you truly need is an honest heart. And a small belief that you are worthy of a different life. And when you walk with that spirit, you begin to see. The universe doesn't wait for perfection. It walks with those who dare to be real. If you feel that your time to begin again has come, even if you don't know where yet, leave a comment. I am ready to step into a new chapter. That sentence is more than a statement. It's a sacred contract between you and the universe. And sometimes, the quiet courage in one small sentence opens an entire destiny. And my dear, in the next part, I'll tell you something few ever mention when they talk about success. It's the deep understanding of your own pain. Because when you're brave enough to face the part of you you once ran from, you not only heal your past, you open the door for your future to walk in. There's something I learned only after many years. Just because you've moved past something doesn't mean you've healed from it. Sometimes, you keep going. You work. You laugh. But there's a part of you still quietly bleeding. A wound that was never named. A memory you tried to forget. But that still shows up in your sleep. Or in your unexplained restlessness. And it dims the light in your eyes. The very light you once took pride in. I used to think I was strong because I didn't let the past affect my present. But now I understand, true strength isn't in denying the wound. It's in the ability to sit beside it. Place your hand on it. And whisper. I've been through it, and I'm still here. It's a very quiet kind of courage. Not loud. But healing. Sagittarius, you often choose to move forward. You live with faith, with ideals. With your eyes set on the distant horizon. But that also makes it easier to ignore the part of you that still hurts. And if that part isn't healed, no matter how far you go, it comes with you. Like a quiet shadow. No one sees it. But you feel it. And one day, you will have to pause. Not to be weak, but to be whole. Because some wounds don't need to be explained. They only need to be held. The greatest lesson I've learned is this. No one is truly successful if there is still an abandoned child inside them. Because the part that has never been loved will always find a way to speak. Sometimes through anxiety. Sometimes through pride. Sometimes through a recurring dream that offers no answer. And when you're brave enough to turn back, to listen, to soothe, then both your present and future selves are set free. If you carry something in your heart that's never been spoken, leave a comment. I am ready to heal from within. Because when you write that down, you are doing something deeply human. Not just for yourself, but for all those silently carrying the same burden. And my dear, in the final part, I will lead you to the most important place. Not the place you're going, but the person you are becoming. Because in the end, the only thing you truly need to carry forward is the light within you. Eventually, after all the changes, after all the cracks and the moments that felt impossible to get through, you will find yourself standing somewhere entirely different. Not somewhere higher. Not somewhere richer. But somewhere truer. A place where you no longer pretend to be okay. Where you no longer need to be understood in order to know your worth. Where you no longer chase anyone. Because you've become the one you can finally rely on. That is not a destination. It is a return. A return to the most honest version of yourself. Not perfect, but full of light. And when you live in that space, everything begins to change. Not loudly, not spectacularly, but profoundly. You attract the right people. You hear the calling within. You are no longer pulled back by the past, nor tangled in the future. You are here. And you are fully alive. For Sagittarius, the miracle isn't how many accomplishments you've had. The miracle is that you didn't lose yourself while chasing them. You kept your faith. Even when the world changed. Even when people grew weary. Even when you wanted to give up. But you didn't. And for that, you deserve to be reborn. Not from ashes. But from the very light you've kept burning in your heart all these years. I don't know where you are in your journey right now. Maybe you're still walking through the fog. Maybe you've just stepped into the light. Or maybe you're already very close to something miraculous. But haven't dared to believe it's real. Wherever you are, please remember this. The universe never forgets a sincere heart. And when you're ready, even just a little, what's greater than anything you've hoped for will find its way to you. If this journey has touched something in you, leave a heartfelt comment. I have returned to myself. That sentence is not just an ending. It's a doorway. A doorway to everything that has been waiting for you. Write it down. For yourself. For the universe. For the soul of someone who needs a spark of light. And if this video means something to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone, a friend, a loved one, or even a stranger who you believe is also on a journey to find themselves. Because light only becomes a miracle when it is shared. And my dear, this journey doesn't end here. In the next video, I'll tell you about a very special gift. A gift that comes when you're no longer searching. A reward not for the hurried, but for those who dare to live slowly. Slow enough to hear the calling from within.